I'm 82 years old. People look at my life and say I did everything right. Wealth, reputation, respect. My name still opens doors. My story sounds like a victory if you tell it fast enough. But here is the truth I avoided for decades. I fail at the only things that don't give second chances. Society taught me a dangerous lesson. It said, if you build enough, endure enough, sacrifice enough, life will eventually reward you with meaning. It said patience is virtue, distance is discipline, and love will wait while you get your priorities straight. That was the lie, and the first person I failed wasn't the world. It was my daughter. Her name was Emily. I remember her as a small figure standing at the end of a hallway, watching me leave again. I always told her the same thing. I'll make it up to you. I believed it. I truly did. I just didn't understand that time doesn't accept apologies. For most of my life, I hid behind what I call responsibility. It sounded noble, clean, unquestionable. I told myself being a good man meant being reliable. Being a good father meant paying for everything before it was asked for. Being a good husband meant absorbing stress so no one else had to feel it. I believed love was something you proved by carrying weight in silence. I thought exhaustion was evidence of care, and the world agreed with me. It rewarded me. Promotions came, praise followed. People trusted me with more power, more decisions, more hours of my life. Every missed dinner had a reason. Every absence had a justification. I told myself this wasn't neglect, it was sacrifice. I was doing it for them. That story carried me for years without breaking. There was a moment when I was sure I had won. I could still see it clearly. I was standing in my office after everyone else had gone home. City lights outside the window. My name on the door. A position people spent their entire lives chasing. I felt relief more than joy. Relief that I had proven something. Relief that I could finally stop running. I told myself, now I've secured everything. Now I can slow down. Now I can be present. What I didn't notice was how quiet my phone had become, how the people I loved had stopped expecting me. I thought I had reached the top. I didn't realize I had arrived alone. The routine took over quietly. Wake up early, work through meals, bring work home, fall asleep thinking fatigue meant I was useful. Years blurred together, and every time doubt crept in, I answered it with the same promise. Just a little more. One more deal. One more year. Tomorrow will be easier. Tomorrow became my favorite word. It sounded responsible, safe, adult. I didn't understand that tomorrow is where you hide when you don't want to face what you're losing today. The moment everything stopped didn't come with drama. No argument, no collapse. It came as silence. I came home one evening and the house felt settled like it had already adjusted to life without me. In a drawer, looking for something unimportant, I found an old photograph. A real one. Paper, worn at the edges. Emily, maybe 6 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. On the back, in my wife's handwriting, words that broke through everything I had built. She waited for you. I sat there holding that photo. The truth landed without mercy. The finish line I had been chasing never existed. It kept moving because it was never meant to be reached. And the people I loved didn't wait forever. They learned how to live without me. That was the moment I finally understood. I hadn't postponed life. I had traded it away carefully, responsibly, one sensible decision at a time. For most of my life, I I hid behind a virtue that no one ever questioned: responsibility. It sounded solid, adult, respectable. I told myself that being a good man meant being dependable at any cost. That being a good father meant making sure my family never lacked anything tangible. Bills paid before they arrived, vacations planned in advance, futures secured on paper. I believed love was something you proved by removing risk, not by showing up. I thought my job was to absorb pressure so others wouldn't have to feel it. I convinced myself that silence was strength and that exhaustion was evidence of care. And because the world rewards men like that, I was never forced to stop and look closer. People trusted me. They praised me. They said I was solid, reliable, a provider. I mistook their approval for truth. I built a simple story in my head and lived inside it for decades. Work hard now so you can relax later. Delay yourself so others can be comfortable. Sacrifice today so tomorrow will be secure. I told myself children don't need time, they need stability. That presence could be replaced with provision. That listening could wait. That love, if it was real, would be patient. I never asked how patient. Every time doubt surfaced, I pushed it away with logic. This is what responsible people do. This is adulthood. One day they'll understand. One day they'll see what I gave up for them. There was a moment when I was certain I had won. I remember it clearly, because I replay it often now. I was standing in a house I once believed was impossible to own. Quiet, clean, everything in its place. No clutter, no chaos. The kind of order people admire from the outside. I had just reached a position that carried weight, a title that made conversations pause when it was mentioned. I stood there holding the keys, feeling relief instead of joy. Relief that I had proven myself. Relief that the struggle had been worth it. I told myself, this is it. I've secured everything. Now I can slow down. Now I can finally be present. What I didn't notice was how empty that victory felt. How the silence didn't feel peaceful, only unfamiliar. I told myself the feeling would pass. I always did. The routine took over quietly, the way it always does. Wake up early, work through meals, carry work home, fall asleep believing fatigue meant I was doing something noble. Days blurred into years. Work followed me everywhere, into weekends, into holidays, into moments that were supposed to belong to someone else. I lived by calendars and deadlines, always pushing real life to the margins. And every time someone needed more of me, I answered with the same promise. Just a little more. Just one more deal. Just one more year. Then things will slow down. Then I'll be there. Tomorrow became my favorite word. It sounded responsible, safe, mature. Tomorrow gave me permission to ignore today without guilt. I truly believed tomorrow was guaranteed. That health would hold, that relationships were lasting, that love could be paused and resumed without damage. I thought balance was something you earned after suffering long enough. I didn't understand that life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It keeps moving, quietly. The most convincing lie I ever told myself was that I was building everything for my family, when in reality, I was teaching them how to live without me. That's the danger of a noble lie. It doesn't look like failure. It looks like virtue. It earns respect, it earns applause, and it slowly empties your life while telling you that you're doing everything right. The moment everything stopped didn't announce itself. No argument, no phone call in the night, no dramatic ending. It came as a silence so complete it felt attention. I came home one evening earlier than usual, not because I chose family, but because there was nothing left that day demanding my attention. The house didn't greet me. It didn't resist me either. It felt finished, like a place that had already learned how to exist without my presence. I stood in the hallway longer than I should have, keys still in my hand, realizing no one cared where I put them anymore. That's when the clock stopped. Not the one on the wall, the one inside me. I walked into the study, the room that once felt important, and started opening drawers without thinking. I wasn't searching for memories. I was looking for something ordinary. Batteries, a pen, anything. And that's how it always happens. You don't go looking for the truth. You trip over it while doing something meaningless. At the back of the lowest drawer, under old documents and things we never throw away, I found a photograph, a real one. Paper, soft from age, the edges worn. The colors faded into something gentler and sadder. It was my daughter, Emily, maybe 6 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, her hands folded, her eyes turned toward the doorway, not smiling, just waiting. I turned the photograph over. On the back, in my wife's handwriting, were a few words written without anger, without drama. She waited for you, that was all. No explanation, no accusation, just a fact. I sat down hard, the chair scraping against the floor, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. That small piece of paper weighed more than every building I helped create, every title I earned, every account I filled. In that moment, everything I had been running from caught up with me at once. I understood, with a clarity that felt almost cruel, that the finish line I had been chasing my entire life never existed. Every time I thought I was close, it moved, because it was designed to move. There was always another goal, another responsibility, another reason to delay living. And the people I loved were never meant to stand still while I chased it. They lived. They grew. They adapted. They learned how to fill the space I kept leaving behind. I had been running toward a future that required them to wait forever. They didn't, and they shouldn't have. Sitting there, with that photograph in my hands, I saw my life without excuses for the first time. All the just one more year promises, all the reasonable explanations, all the confidence that tomorrow would always be available. Tomorrow isn't a place you arrive, it's a place you hide. And while I was hiding there, life was happening somewhere else. People don't wait forever. Love doesn't pause. It either grows with presence or it fades into something polite and distant. That was the moment the lie finally collapsed. I hadn't postponed life. I had traded it away, carefully, responsibly, one sensible decision at a time. You can rebuild money. I've watched people lose it and make it back, sometimes twice. I've seen fortunes shrink and return. I've seen careers collapse and rise again under a new name. You can rebuild status too, at least on paper. You can polish your reputation, collect awards, become respected again. You can even rebuild order. You can straighten your house, clean the drawers, make everything look calm enough to convince yourself you're in control. But you cannot rebuild the moments you didn't live. You cannot earn back a child's waiting. You cannot return to an ordinary evening when your daughter wanted you for 10 minutes and you chose the easier answer. Not now. Time is the only resource that never comes back. It doesn't care how noble your intentions were. It doesn't accept repayment. It simply leaves, and and it leaves you with whatever relationships you actually fed while it was here. Emily is grown now, and she is polite with me. That word still cuts. Polite. She calls on birthdays, sometimes on holidays. She asks about my health. I ask about her work. We talk about safe things that don't require trust. She doesn't tell me what scares her. She doesn't tell me what she worries about at night. I don't know the private parts of her life, the parts a daughter shares with a father she feels close to. And it isn't because she's cruel. It's because I trained her slowly to carry her world without me. I lost the right to her secrets one missed moment at a time. There was no explosion, no dramatic goodbye. Distance arrived like dust, settling quietly until one day you wipe the surface and realize how long you've been gone. The world I worked so hard for moved on even faster. When I stepped back, there were handshakes, speeches, compliments that sounded permanent. Then the calls stopped. The emails dried up. 2 weeks later, my name wasn't needed in meetings. A month later, the machine ran smoothly without me. That's not bitterness. That's reality. Institutions don't love you back. They use you while you're useful and replace you when you're done. I gave my best years to something that could never sit with me in a quiet room and say, "I'm glad you're here." And there's another kind of loss that feels almost invisible until it's too late. When you lose the person who knew your younger self, you lose your witness. My wife used to remember me before I hardened into this successful man. She remembered how I laughed when I didn't measure every minute. She remembered who I was before I became a provider instead of a person. When that closeness faded, it wasn't just love that thinned. My past did too. Without a witness, your own story becomes blurry. You start forgetting what it felt like to be alive inside your own life. That's what it means to become a ghost. You're present, but not essential. Included, but not central. Respected, but not needed. You finally understand the price wasn't paid in money. It was paid in warmth, in secrets, in the simple comfort of being someone's first call. Listen to me now. Not as a story, not as content, as a man who reached the end and finally understands what all the noise was hiding. I know you're tired. I know you're telling yourself you've earned the right to shut down for the night. I know you think you just need this next raise, this next win, this next stretch of discipline so your family can finally relax. You know you believe you'll call your parents on the weekend, that you'll spend real time with your kids when work slows down, that you'll be present when things calm down. I believed every one of those thoughts. They sounded reasonable, responsible. They felt like maturity. And they were the most expensive lies I ever told myself. Here's the part that still follows me into the quiet hours. There is no warning when the last chance passes. No signal. No announcement. One day you are busy. The next day you are distracted. And one day after that, you are no longer essential. The people you love don't stop caring. They stop waiting. Not out of anger, out of survival. And when they do, something breaks that doesn't fully repair. So listen carefully. Close the laptop. Not later. Not after one more email. Close it now. If you're at work, go home. If you're already home, put the phone down and sit next to the person you love without trying to fix anything. Make the call you keep postponing. Not tomorrow. Today. Say the awkward thing. Ask the question you've been avoiding. Show up even if you're exhausted and quiet and have nothing impressive to offer. Presence is not performance. It's simply being there while it still matters. I am not telling you to abandon responsibility. I am telling you to stop trading what cannot be replaced for things that can. Your job will survive without your extra hours. The world will move on without you, faster than you think. Your family will not, at least not at first. And once they learn how to live without you, that lesson is hard to unlearn. If you're still here with me, I want to ask you for something. Not for numbers, not for algorithms. Subscribe because I don't have many years left, and this is everything I learned too late. Leave a comment and write the name of the person you will reach out to today. Give me your word. And if this reached something inside you, share it. Not for me. For the person who is right now making the same mistake I made 40 years ago. Don't wait 50 years to understand this, because unlike me, you still have time.